Raven brought light to the world, inspired by the Halder folktale. Long ago, the world was a gigantic flood, and nothing existed but water. Raven grew bored with this world. There was nothing to eat, and when he flew, there was nowhere to land. Raven caused the water to drain away and form the ground so he was able to land and search for food to eat. Then Raven heard noises coming from a clamshell. Raven sang to the shell, and a human man came out. He found human women in another shell, then more men, and brought the people together. He found them very amusing to watch, but because he had brought the people into the world, Raven also felt responsible for them and wanted to take care of them. When he formed the land, however, Raven had not been able to create any light. There were no stars, no moon, and no sun. The world was very dark. The people came to Raven and said, "The world is too dark. We cannot see our families, find our homes, weed our gardens, or pick fruit." Raven agreed that the world was too dark. He, too, was tired of bumping into things and being unable to see where he was going. Raven decided to find light and bring it to the world. He hoped it would make people happy. Raven learned that Grey Eagle was the guardian of all kinds of light, the sun, the moon, and the stars. But Grey Eagle hated people, and he didn't like Raven much either. So he kept the sun, the moon, and the stars locked up in a great chest in his long house far away in a distant land. Raven knew that Grey Eagle did not have the right to keep all the light locked away. The sun, moon, and stars were part of the world and should belong to everyone. So Raven began preparations for a journey. Raven bid the people goodbye and set off. He flew for many days over mountains and oceans. His wings were weary by the time he came to the land where Grey Eagle lived. Raven landed near Grey Eagle's magnificent longhouse and sat for a while to rest his tired wings. As he sat, he brooded. How could he convince Grey Eagle to share the light? Raven decided that he should begin by asking politely. So he approached Grey Eagle's longhouse and called out, "Grey Eagle, I wish to speak with you." Grey Eagle stepped outside his longhouse, but he did not look friendly. "What do you want, Raven?" "Grey Eagle, you have all the light in the world locked away in there, but the light belongs to everyone. You must set it free so that all people and creatures can have a better world." Grey Eagle looked angry. "The light is mine, Raven, and I choose to keep it locked up. The world has no right to it. You can all remain in darkness." Raven flew away, but he didn't go very far. Asking politely had not worked, so was time for a new plan. It was time to trick Grey Eagle into doing the right thing. Raven turned himself into a small human child and returned to the longhouse. Now Grey Eagle did not like people, but his daughter saw Raven Child and brought him into the longhouse. There she gave him food and a place to sleep. Days passed, and Grey Eagle's daughter grew to enjoy the company of Raven Child. Although Grey Eagle complained at first, at last he too began to like the child and the games he played. Meanwhile, Raven saw where Grey Eagle kept the chest filled with light, but Grey Eagle guarded it carefully. One day, when Grey Eagle was standing near the chest, Raven Child asked him what was inside it. Grey Eagle puffed up his own chest and boasted, "All the light in the world is in that chest, the stars, the moon, and even the sun." "Please let me see it," Raven Child begged. Grey Eagle did not want to show him the light, but Raven Child asked over and over again. He begged and pleaded until finally Grey Eagle handed Raven Child the bag of stars. "Take this outside and play quietly," he said. Ravenchild took the bag and went outside the longhouse. There he turned back into his raven form, leapt into the air, and flew back and forth across the sky and around the world. As he flew, stars spilled from the bag and stuck to the sky. The world had light! When Raven returned to the longhouse, he once again turned into the Raven Child, and told Grey Eagle that the stars had blown away from him and stuck in the sky. Grey Eagle was annoyed, but at the same time he couldn't help noticing how pretty the world was in the starlight. He did not scold Ravenchild, and the next day Raven asked again to see inside the chest. Again Grey Eagle said no at first, but after Ravenchild asked and asked, Grey Eagle gave in. He handed the boy the moon and sent him outside to play. Raven took the moon and flew to the top of the sky. He hung the moon there, and it filled the world below with pale light. Raven returned to the longhouse and told Grey Eagle that the moon had rolled away. Grey Eagle was not pleased, but he also saw how beautifully the silvery white moonlight shone on the sea below. The next day, when once again Ravenchild asked to play with some of the light in the chest, Grey Eagle just sighed and handed him the sun. Raven took the sun outside and flew up, 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 higher into the sky than even the moon, where he placed the sun. A bright wave of golden light swept over the world. When Raven returned to the longhouse, Grey Eagle met him outside. They stood looking at the blue ocean, the bright green trees, the sparkling white sand, and listening to the sounds of people rejoicing. "Raven," Grey Eagle said, "I was mistaken to keep all the light hidden away for myself. When belongs to the world, it belongs to all people and all creatures." Raven looked at the world and was satisfied. "Together we have created a beautiful world," he said, "for everyone." Then he spread his black wings and leapt into the sky